Today is Thursday, August 18th. We'll tell you why the CDC's leader is criticizing her own agency and new details about what's expected next for interest rates in America. Also, new issues impacting the global supply chain that could take a toll on the holiday shopping season right around the corner. Plus, how some states are getting creative to find desperately needed teachers. Why Amazon could look more like TikTok in the future. And a historic contract for an NBA star. All that and even more stories to know coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. The CDC director is calling for a big shakeup in her own organization. Dr. Rochelle Walensky says when the nation's top public health agency had to handle the COVID-19 pandemic, it made a lot of mistakes, and she doesn't want to see that happen again. For example, she said some of the recommendations about masking and distancing were confusing and overwhelming, and that important data was sometimes released too late. So Walensky laid out some of the changes she wants to see. Like, she says the CDC's websites need to be retooled so public health guidance is clearer and easier to find. Also, she hopes to cut down the time it takes to review studies when results are needed right away. And some staffing changes, including a group of officials whose jobs will specifically be to respond to public health crises, and their training will reflect that. And those are just a few of her examples. The director says an overhaul is needed now and that the CDC's future depends on it. All this comes after a lot of public distrust and an external review Walensky commissioned back in April. So we're getting some hints about what might be coming next for interest rates and inflation in the U.S. The latest Federal Reserve meeting minutes were released this week, so essentially that's a readout from when Fed officials last met. They show that federal officials agreed it would be necessary to keep raising interest rates. But they also said at some point they'll have to make smaller hikes so it's not too big of a shock all at once. As far as how long higher interest rates will last, officials say at least until it's clear inflation is going down. Of course, since that last meeting that we're talking about, there have been some changes in the economy. Like oil and gas prices have gone down, which brought inflation as a whole down at least a little bit. But even in the minutes, the officials made it clear that just because oil prices drop does not mean they won't go right back up in the future. So what happens now? Well, many traders expect the Fed to raise interest rates by 0.5 percentage point at their meeting next month, as compared to the last two meetings when the Fed went with historically high 0.75% hike each time. The global supply chain issues are far from over, and now some new hurdles could mean more shortages are coming for stores and other businesses all around the world. So for starters, there are backups of dozens of container ships off ports in New York, Houston, Texas, and Savannah, Georgia. Industry executives say this time of year tends to be a peak shipping season. But now there's more cargo than there is space to store it, equipment to move it, and people to handle it. Apparently, U.S. importers who were trying to relieve the bottlenecks at West Coast ports are triggering these new backups on the East Coast and Gulf Coast. And there's more. Also this month, thousands of dock workers in the U.K. have decided to strike over pay. So assuming nothing changes by the end of this week, economists say that could have ripple effects throughout the global shipping network. One more issue that could impact the supply chain: a heat wave in China. Factories have had to shut down in 19 Chinese cities for nearly a week because of government-planned power cuts. That could impact a lot of industries that get imports from China regularly, like tech companies, and many who need aluminum and copper. Now the hope is just that these issues resolve themselves soon before the issues end up carrying over to the holiday shipping season. An American shipwreck that's been missing for more than a century has finally been uncovered in the UK. A group of expert British divers found the wreckage from the USS Jacob Jones, the very first Navy destroyer ever sunk by enemy fire. It was hit by a torpedo in 1917 during World War I. But the ship is still considered a key asset, since it's responsible for rescuing hundreds of people from other attacked ships before it went down in the same way. The UK divers who found it are now working with the U.S. Embassy to decide what to do next. By the way, this comes less than 2 months after another Navy destroyer was discovered off the Philippines. That ship, from World War II, was about 23,000 feet below sea level, making it the deepest shipwreck ever found. We have more news for you still ahead, but first, a quick break for our sponsor, Indeed. Business success stories start with someone who had a great idea and found great people to help them. So if you're hoping to make headlines, you need to build a great team. You need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. Instead of spending hours on multiple job sites searching for candidates with the right skills, Indeed's a powerful hiring partner that can help you do it all. Find great talent faster through time-saving tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. One thing that really stands out about Indeed is that it helps star applicants really shine with over 135 assessment tests from cooking to coding. I know from experience that the best way to see who might be a good fit for your team is by seeing their work in action. Start hiring now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/newsworthy. Offer good for a limited time. Claim your $75 credit now at Indeed.com/newsworthy. Indeed.com/newsworthy. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. The company that makes the monkeypox vaccine is taking new steps to try and keep up with demand as the virus multiplies around the world, including here in the U.S. Bavarian Nordic is the only company with an FDA-approved vaccine for monkeypox, and the shots are only produced at one facility. Now the company is looking to change that. A company spokesperson told Bloomberg it's thinking about outsourcing some of its production to just meet the current needs. It might even transfer some of its vaccine-making technology to an American manufacturer. And that would make sense since the U.S. has received 88% of the monkeypox vaccine deliveries since May, when the outbreak first started. Since then, the CDC has officially reported nearly 14,000 cases in the U.S. So far, nearly all of the cases have been detected in men who have sex with men, but anyone can catch it by having close contact with an infected person. Remember, symptoms of monkeypox include distinct bumps, fatigue, fever, and swollen lymph nodes. But most of the time, patients will recover. 3 of the largest pharmacy chains in the United States have been ordered to pay $650 million. It's all tied to the opioid crisis. 2 counties in Ohio sued CVS, Walgreens, and Walmart, saying the pharmacies created a public nuisance with the amount of pain meds distributed. But the pharmacy chain's lawyers argued they had safety policies in place for distribution and that the prescriptions came from doctors. Still, a judge sided with the counties. This was actually the first ruling by a federal judge to assign pharmacy chains a set amount of money for their role in the opioid crisis. So reports say it could set a precedent for other local governments who want to hold pharmacies accountable. The $650 million payment will be spread out over 15 years and will go toward fighting the opioid epidemic in those areas. CVS, Walmart, and Walgreens say they disagree with the ruling and plan to appeal. The judge's decision comes the same day another company reached a big settlement over the opioid crisis. Endo International, that makes Percocet and other opioids, will pay up to $450 million to several states and can never market opioids again. The company was accused of downplaying the addiction risk and overstating the benefits of opioids. Endo is still facing thousands of other lawsuits and filed for bankruptcy this week. Airbnb is using new technology to crack down on parties at its rentals even more, and the company may even stop someone from making a reservation in the first place. Airbnb officially banned parties back in June. Now the company says it's testing what it calls AntiParty technology. It's tech that will take a look at a variety of factors to decide whether a party is likely to happen. For example, it'll look at a renter's past reviews, length of past trips, and physical distance to a listing. Then, if all signs point to an unauthorized party, Airbnb can block the booking. That said, flagged users will be allowed to rent private rooms instead of entire homes. The company has been doing this in Australia for nearly a year now and says it has seen a 35% drop in parties there. Even Amazon may be taking a page from TikTok. Amazon is reportedly experimenting with a vertical photo and video feed in its app to show off products to buy and let users share them. The Wall Street Journal and others cite an artificial intelligence firm in Israel, which has apparently tracked this new feature. Amazon has yet to comment about this, and to be clear, we don't know yet if it will actually be rolled out as is or at all. But it could make Amazon look more like social media. Already, Amazon products are popular on TikTok and Instagram. Influencers often promote these products with customized links that earn them money when you buy. one of the greatest basketball players of all time will now become the highest-earning NBA player of all time. ESPN reports LeBron James has agreed to a $97.1 million two-year contract extension with the LA Lakers, which brings his total guaranteed earnings over his career to $532 million, making him the NBA's new highest earner. LeBron James has played in the NBA for nearly 2 decades and is a 4-time champion and MVP, an 18-time All-Star. James' son, Bronny, who is 17 years old, will be eligible for the NBA draft in 2024. And James has made it clear that he wants to play professional ball with his son before he retires. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Thing to Know Thursday. But first, thanks to our sponsor, Rothy's. I was trying to reorganize my closet a bit better the other day, leaving out my summer clothes, but also thinking about how fall is right around the corner. And I was appreciating that Rothy's makes it easy to transition from summer to fall. They have so many colors of shoes you can wear from season to season without going out of style. So you never have to worry about getting brand new shoes each season and each year. In fact, they continue to be one of my go-tos all year long. And I'm here to tell you, Rothy's could be your new everyday shoe obsession as well. All of my Rothy's shoes are super comfortable, and they've been that way from the second I took them out of the box. I have a few different styles, and they all actually stay on my feet while I walk. They're also high quality. They've lasted me years at this point. So step up your shoes and accessories this summer and get ready to be asked, are those Rothy's? Plus, get $20 off your first purchase at rothys.com/newsworthy. That's ROTHYS, rothys.com/newsworthy. Now back to Thing to Know Thursday. It's back to school now, or soon, for students across the U.S. And in some states, districts are facing a big problem: not enough educators. The largest teachers union in the U.S. says there's a shortage of 300,000 teachers across the country. And the hardest hit states are pulling out all the stops to have enough people to teach their kids. In Alabama, for example, 2 years of policy changes have helped at least a bit. Now anyone can teach in the state if they have a license from another state. Florida's governor is recruiting military veterans to serve in the classroom, now allowing them to get temporary credentials even if they have no teaching experience. Louisiana is enticing teens into teaching by offering high school students college credits for education classes. Other states, like New Jersey, are going virtual, allowing teachers to hold lessons from their homes and projecting them into classrooms. To try and fix the problem long-term, state lawmakers and education departments are spending hundreds of millions of dollars on new recruitment strategies, higher teacher salaries, and more. That said, in other states, the problem isn't nearly as bad or doesn't exist. But why is this such a problem in some places? We are answering that question and talking about other possible solutions coming up this weekend as part of our special edition Saturday episode of The Newsworthy. All right, thank you so much for listening and joining us today. We will be back with much more news to know tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.